Have you ever thought to yourself, why medical coding? Like, is this a career that is still worth getting into? Well, today we're going to talk about why people choose medical coding, what skills you really need, what the salary looks like, and some honest insights into this career. So by the end of it, you will know if medical coding looks like it might be the right fit for you. If you're new here, hey, I'm Victoria. I'm a medical coder, auditor, educator, and content creator. And on my channel, I provide tips, tricks, and tutorials to help you be successful in a medical coding career. If you haven't already, highly encourage you to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you can get alerts when I post new episodes. Now, let's start at the beginning. Medical coding is the process of taking all of these medical records, which are full of documentation of all of the services and diagnoses and treatments a patient had, and we take those, we abstract them, and translate them into standardized codes. We commonly think about this being used for billing insurance. That's the thing that people think of the most. And it's really is billing and coding are kind of two sides of the same coin. But we do more than that with medical codes. We use them to track healthcare data and make sure that, for example, if we see certain populations of patients are having more complications with their conditions or they're having better outcomes, we can track that data a lot better if we go, okay, these pool of patients seem to be doing a lot better. What treatments did they have? Did they have more frequent visits with their healthcare providers? Like, we can quantify all of that with data. Or when we're seeing further outbreaks of conditions, that's a lot more easier to research when we have that codified data versus using text-based narratives. So medical coding is really done behind the scenes, but it's still very essential because without coders, the healthcare system can't function. We don't have that data. We don't have the billing. We need the billing to be done in order to get all of the reimbursement from the insurance companies. But here's why people are kind of drawn to medical coding as a career. First, it is a stable industry. Healthcare is not going anywhere. In fact, it is growing. We have these populations like the baby boomers that are just consuming a lot of healthcare. And as people are living longer and they're doing things that they're passionate about longer, like going on bike rides, they're more prone to having injuries. They're more prone to doing a lot more preventative measures to make sure that they maybe don't get injuries. As people are living longer, they have more comorbidities, more conditions, more chronic conditions, and all kinds of things going on, as well as different outbreaks and new treatments that patients are consuming as well. So there's just so much activity. Now, as far as a career, it is one that is extremely flexible. We have historically, as medical coders, been working remotely. It's been that way for probably a decade. It's shifted, though, over the years. Since the pandemic, we have a lot more people starting remotely from day one. What used to happen is you would work in a role at a hospital or a healthcare organization and then say, hey, if you meet this certain criteria, if you are certain amount of accuracy, and you have a certain amount of productivity for this period of time, we'll then allow you to pack up and work from home. But now we're starting to see that we've transitioned to more organizations going, oh, you know what, we have all of these different digital ways that we can train you and do this remotely. So you work remotely a lot of times now from day one. There's also an easier entry pathway. You really don't need a 4-year degree or honestly even a 2-year degree. You just need the right certification and training so you can do it in under a year. And that's very appealing to a lot of people. This is also an industry where there is a huge amount of specialization options. So first off, every medical specialty you can think of, you can get specialized in medical coding. So cardiology, oncology, OBGYN, you name it. But you can also branch into auditing. You can branch into compliance, education, or even different IT aspects. There's some people that get so good at using the electronic medical record that they specialize just in that, in more the IT medical records and programming of the systems. And it is kind of impactful work because when we make sure that everything is documented, that was actually done, and then is billed correctly, it reduces stress for both the providers because they're like, yes, we don't have to deal with all these denials and this pesky insurance BS that they're trying to pull, as well as patients don't have to worry about having to call and play that back and forth game when everything just runs smoothly. Now let's talk about money because most people, when they get into a career, that is a consideration of theirs. According to the most recent AEPC salary survey, the average medical coder earns usually between $58 to $65,000 a year, depending on how many specialties you are expert in and certain certifications you have. It can actually go a lot higher. Now, having said that, let's back up one step, 1 second. Entry level coders might not start close to that. More 40 to 45. It depends a lot on your location. Go into Google and type in AAPC salary calculator. And if you type in AAPC salary calculator, it will bring up a calculator that will show you, based off of your location and your experience and your certifications, what the reported information that we have based off of AAPC members is as far as earning potential. Experienced coders, auditors, compliance specialists, they're often earning between $70,000 to $80,000 or more. I actually know a lot of auditors that are making close to or over six figures. And there's some people that earn six figures just because they're working two jobs. They're like, hey, I don't have to commute. I don't have as much responsibilities in my life and I just want to work. I'm going to clock out of one job and clock into the other. Or they take on contract projects. And because they're working a little over 40 hours a week, they're working probably more like 50 or 60. They do make six figures. There's also some opportunities there that are pay per chart. So we have a lot of medical coding is hourly, but there are pay per charts. So I've worked some contracts recently where it's like, okay, we're going to pay you for E&M coding and it's $2.25 per chart, which doesn't sound like a lot, but if you're completing like 20 charts in an hour, then that's a decent amount of money. And there's some inpatients where they're like, hey, we'll pay you, $30 per chart, but those charts take a longer amount of time to complete. So depending on how fast and how accurate you are and how focused you are, pay per chart might have some pretty high earning potential out there. And of course, as you are working on different specialties like risk adjustment or auditing or interventional radiology, those can really boost your pay. So while you may not start out at six figures, it is a very solid, stable income, and there is a lot of room to grow. But let's talk a little bit about what it actually takes to be successful in this career. First and foremost is you have to have attention to detail because small mistakes, if you switch out a number, it can mean very large denials, very huge payment problems, or even just medical necessity. Like, you might send out a claim and you think you're trying to get a payment for an ear lavage, but you accidentally put the digit in wrong and now it's some nose condition. Like they want to see an ear condition tied to that in order to want to reimburse it. And you have to have really good reading comprehension because you're going to be digging through not just medical records every day, but also payment policies, payment updates, guidelines from the American Health Association, guidelines from the American Medical Association, like a lot of information. You do need to have patience and persistence because coding is very problem solving oriented as well as tech skills. You have to absolutely 100% have the foundational knowledge that you would need to work in a business environment. You have to be able to understand the Microsoft Office suite. They're not going to train you on how to put your signature on your email or how to do an Excel spreadsheet. Those are things that you need to have when you are getting into any kind of office positions these days or business positions. But on top of that, you have to have comfort with electronic health records and all different coding software. And it's really, really important that you have really good ethics. Compliance is huge. I've had medical coders that have come up to me and tried to tell me like, hey, Victoria, like, guess who's pregnant? And I'm like, la, 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 no, no, no. Go away. Like patient information, HIPAA, that's all extremely important. As a medical coder, you may see records of names that are, I'll just say, familiar to you. They could be neighbors or coworkers or people who are notariable in the local area where you live, or they might be, internet personalities or celebrities, name any person that's familiar to you. And you have to be able to keep that information under lock and key. So those are some of the skills that you need as a medical coder. The coding part of it, like you don't have to know up front. Training programs will teach you the coding systems like ICD-10-CM, CPT, HCPCS, and depending on which one you're going through, ICD-10 PCS as well. So medical coding is really good for people who like healthcare, but maybe don't want to work directly in patient care. Like maybe you're one of those people who's like, I love watching medical dramas. I love Grey's Anatomy or House MD. I don't know what all the popular ones are these days anymore. But you're like, this is all very fascinating. However, I don't want to touchy the patients. I don't want to deal with the blood. I don't want to give the shots. I don't want to have to see any of that kind of stuff. So you do get that information of it. Might see pictures of wounds, but you don't have to smell them, which is nice. So you get to work very behind the scenes and be helpful in the healthcare industry without having to do that direct patient care. And if you're someone who enjoys details, you enjoy organization, you enjoy structure, you want to be able to start fairly quickly. Like you're like, I want to commit maybe for few months up to a year and then grow a lot over time. Or if you're someone who really values stability and that option for remote work, it could be a good fit for you. But if you're someone who's like, I hate sitting still at a computer, I want something that's super fast paced, I want to be social with people, coding might not be your best fit from that aspect. It is a little bit of an isolating job because you do tend to work remote, but there are positions where you are out in offices or working with providers and stuff. So a lot of it is remote, but there are also opportunities and some much higher paying opportunities if you are willing to go into practices and work with people. So back to kind of wrap this all up, we talked about why medical coding. Well, because this is a career that has stability and flexibility and growth potential, and it's kind of interesting. I don't know if you ask me, but it's not always glamorous. It takes hard work. It takes persistence, especially when you are trying to break into your first job. So you want a career that is blending healthcare with problem solving. Like this could be your path. Now, if you're curious on how to get started, I actually have an entire playlist that's a starter playlist. Like you want to get started in medical coding, here's the playlist that you want. I have got tons of videos that it's just here's the one playlist you want, but also videos on certifications and training and exam prep. So be sure to check them out. Again, make sure that you are subscribed. I will see you guys in the next video. And until then, just keep on coding on.